Well, President-elect Donald Trump had a different reaction to the speech. He demanded an apology several times on his preferred medium of Twitter, most recently writing, and I quote, "The cast and producers of Hamilton, which I hear is highly overrated, should immediately apologize to Mike Pence for their terrible behavior," end quote. The actor who delivered that speech, Brandon Victor Dixon, is here. One person has the show being perhaps highly overrated, Brandon. That's a discussion. That's another discussion for another time. But we did hear the response of the vice president-elect on Face the Nation, saying that, looking to reassure, perhaps, if nothing else, that Donald Trump would be president for all the people. What did you make of the vice president-elect's response?
I greatly appreciated his response. He showed a lot of love and respect when he was at the performance, seemed to enjoy it, and with the explosion of everything that happened after we, spoke to him, made our statement to him, I did appreciate him coming out and saying, thank you and thank you for speaking to him, because it shows me that he recognizes that as an elected representative, this is what you're supposed to do, have discourse with your constituents. So I did appreciate that.
What did you make of the boos inside the theater, specifically as he was taking his seat?
I mean, I thought they were expected,
yeah.
But I also knew the cheers were coming too. I mean, there was an indication backstage, or a question backstage about what was going to be happening when he walked in, and people were expecting boos. And I said, they're not going to all be boos, ladies and gentlemen. You don't make no mistake.
We heard by way of response, as for your words, that the election was tough for the cast, that the election night was difficult. One of the producers said it was hard for a lot of the cast to go on stage that night. What was the election, this process, and certainly an election night, like for you?
Well, for me, I was not as emotionally engaged in the results. I mean, I kind of just accepted the results are going to be what they're going to be, and then we're going to move forward as a country, because that's what we always do. And elections, particularly, I think, in the last couple of years, and I only say this because I've come of age in the last couple of years, so I've paid attention, they seem very emotionally engaging. So, but I have a broad outlook on our democracy. I know that there are a lot of high emotions on both sides, and I knew, after we win, the dust will settle, and then we've got to figure out how to push forward. And a lot of the issues that we were dealing with before are the same issues that we're dealing with now. So, the fight is still the same.
And so you find out the vice president-elect is coming to the show roughly 30 minutes prior. What went
About an hour, yeah.
What went into the response, and what compelled you to deliver it?
Well, the producer of the show, Jeffrey Sellers, he spoke with Tommy Kail, the director, and with Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they decided that we should make a statement. I mean, our show is a very political show. I mean, we tell an American story with a diverse group of Americans, and they said, this is an important moment and we want to seize it, and they asked me if I would be willing to make this statement. I'm not sure why they asked me, but I'm grateful that they did. I'm grateful that we took the opportunity, and I think one of the things that has come out of this, people's comments about was it appropriate, was at the right venue, and all these things, I think a thing I want to highlight for everybody is a lot of times we look at our elected officials as mythological figures. I mean, and that's a template that gets broken down in our show. We mythologize Jefferson and Washington and all these people. They are regular people with wants and flaws, and when you have the opportunity to speak with your elected representative, you take it. You do it as respectfully as possible, but you take it. That is their job. That is why they're here, and that's why I appreciated Vice President-elect responding in that way.
And we should note, there have been differing reports as to if he stayed and listened. He had gotten up and he was leaving the theater, but he stopped to listen to you.
Yes, he had gotten up. A lot of times when we have political figures, the security tends to usher them out.
Sure.
But he stopped when I requested that he remain and listen. I know it was probably not an easy decision for him, but he did. He stopped and he remained and he listened, and I appreciated him for that.
Donald Trump would seem was less than happy with what happened.
It seems.
What do you make of his rather vociferous response on Twitter?
Well, I found it curious. I didn't really understand it, and it certainly wasn't in line with the statements he made immediately post-election that Vice President-elect Pence referenced yesterday. But, I don't know what is behind his response to our statement, but I hope that maybe he will find a sobering moment and really just be able to recognize, and I hope everybody does, because I know a lot of people had problems with it or how it was done, and I hope people can really look at the text and just recognize all we said was, don't boo. We're here on a platform of love and unity, and we simply want to express that we care about one another. We care about you, and we're just asking you to, as you move forward in your job, to make sure that you keep us in mind and you care about us as well.
It was certainly something the Vice President-elect, again, in the words we just heard, seemed to appreciate. I wonder personally, what's the response been like for you?
I mean, you know, my brother wrote me and he said, look, I'm just curious. How many Twitter followers do you have now? You know, but there's been a lot of attention and a lot of people responding with a lot of love and a lot of support and gratitude for us using our platform to spread this message. I mean, I think if anything, no matter the realities of the circumstances, after this election, a lot of people's emotions are high, and many individuals feel like maybe their voice isn't being heard, or they're being marginalized, or they feel isolated and alone. And I think it is very important for everybody to recognize that you are not. You have allies in your fight to make your voice heard, in your fight to get into the room where it happens. You have allies, and it's important for us to remember that and recognize that, take heart and let go of our fear and continue to move forward with the conversation.
And if you want to get into that room, by the way, it's like, I think next September is maybe the first time you're going to have a chance to actually get into that room, because it's quite a room. Brandon Victor Dixon, really, really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much
it.
for your time.
Thanks, y'all.